Jesus paid it all to hear my yoke. Sin had left a crimson stain, He washed it white as snow. Jesus paid it all to hear my yoke. Sin had left a crimson stain, He washed it white as snow. Jesus paid it all to hear my yoke. Sin had left a crimson stain, He washed it white as snow.
That song was actually one of the first hymns that I learned to play on my guitar. And the words of that song were always so thought-provoking to me. Jesus paid it all to Him I owe. But I always had the question, why did it have to happen like that? Have you ever thought that? Why did it have to play out in the way that it did? Why do we call this Good Friday? Why did Jesus have to endure the things that He did in the way that He did? I mean, a lot of times it's like we're those little children, parents, you understand, when you tell your child something and then they just keep asking why. Why is the sky blue? Well, just, that's the way God made it. Well, why? Well, because it's a reflection off the grass. Well, why? And they just keep asking these questions, and eventually you get to the point that either you're so frustrated or you're just out of answers. And we really relate to that because when it comes to the things of God, especially these things, the death of His one and only Son, we have so many questions. We want to know why. In Isaiah chapter 53, it says this: He was despised and rejected, a man of sorrows, acquainted with deepest grief. We turned our backs on Him and looked the other way. He was despised, and we didn't care. Yet, it was our weakness He carried. It was our sorrows that weighed Him down. And we thought His troubles were a punishment from God, a punishment for His own sins. But He was pierced for our rebellion, crushed for our sins. He was beaten so we could be whole, and He was whipped so we could be healed. God demands that the debt for our sin be paid. But why? Because He's a just God. But why? Because it's who He is, and He cannot let the penalty of our sin go unaccounted for. But why? Because ignoring something isn't grace. But why? And we continue to ask these questions, but maybe today on this Good Friday, instead of asking the question why, we should be asking what. What is it that we are supposed to take from this punishment that was on Jesus? What is it that we were supposed to learn from this? What is it that has been made available to us because of His sacrifice on that cross? Because when we flip the question from why to what, all of a sudden we begin to realize how much has been made available to us. I mean, God said that His ways are not our ways and His thoughts are higher than ours. And so we really will never understand why. So in this situation on this Good Friday, as we reflect on the sacrifice of God's one and only Son being laid down on that cross, instead of asking why, we say, God, what is it that I'm supposed to learn from this? What is it that's supposed to happen in my life, in my heart because of this? We know that because Jesus laid down his life, that we have been made whole. We've been set free. The sin of our lives, the punishment that we deserved, has now been taken care of by Jesus. Jesus paid it all. And so because of that, all to him we owe. As you reflect today and tomorrow, I want you to think about what that would have looked like had you been responsible to pay that price. What would it have looked like if you were the one who had to settle the debt because of your sin? Because the reality is, that's what Jesus did. He took your sin, my sin, and he paid the debt that we owed. And when God did that, he no longer was just saying, it's not a problem, I'm turning my head and ignoring it. He's saying, because of my grace, because of who I am, I have now declared this debt to be settled. It's not because of anything you did or anything that I did, but all because of who Jesus is and what he did on the cross. It is by grace, through faith, that we have been saved. There is so much available to us when we stop asking why and we start asking what. God, what is it that you want me to do this weekend as I reflect on all that this Easter weekend is about? What is it that you want to do in my heart as I reflect on the reality of your one and only Son going to the cross to be crucified in my place? What is it, God, that you want to change in me? God, what is it that you have in store for me in this life? Jesus paid it all. All to him I owe. Sin had left a crimson stain, but he washed us white as snow. There would be no Easter celebration if we didn't reflect on the sorrow of Good Friday. So don't skip this. Don't skip today. We're all excited for Sunday, but there is no celebration of the resurrection without the reflection of his crucifixion and death.